Hey, welcome back to the channel. Taking a nice afternoon ride with Mr. Peso here. I think he's enjoying himself. It's kind of hot in the sun here in Arizona. It's getting pretty nice. Pretty excited. I got my ticket to the first Texas Beef Initiative conference in Kerrville, Texas, if that's how you pronounce the name. I don't know. Oh, down there in the hill country. April 23rd and 24th, I believe, 2022. If you get a chance, you ought to buy a ticket and come out. It's going to be a pretty cool 2-day conference promoting, well, Texas Beef Initiative, which is about promoting local beef, knowing your rancher, kind of getting the kill plants decentralized and spread out to where you can get there's no single point of failure like we have now with the big 4-packers, and promoting sound money, in their case in the form of Bitcoin. And on that note, I've been thinking about making a series of videos about precious metals compared to Bitcoin, because I've seen a lot of debate on that subject on Twitter, and I've really been paying more attention to the whole Bitcoin space because of the Texas Beef Initiative, because of how they're bringing sound money into they're actually using Bitcoin to transact to buy, buy local beef and start putting that back into the or trying to bring it mainstream, the ideas of sound money. And it's a hard thing for me to talk about because I'm really excited about what they're doing, what Texas Slim is doing, and that community of Bitcoiners. At the same time, I have some reservations about Bitcoin, and I've been I guess you could say, a gold and silver maximalist since about 2008. And while I've thought a lot about it, I've not been convinced that Bitcoin is going to be the winner. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and it's hard to, it seems to me, watching the interactions on Twitter, it's kind of hard to talk about without sounding like you're attacking the whole concept, because I'm not. I think we're all allies, and anyone that's spreading the message of the harms of fiat money and basically the systemic injustice and the society destroying effects of central banking and fiat currency and artificially low interest rates. We're all on the same page there, and whatever. I guess I've always been a believer since I started reading about this stuff, and the idea of competing currencies, and that throughout history, numerous different currencies have been used side by side simultaneously, and the strongest one that people are allowed to use and transact normally will kind of prevail. But that's a hard thing I'm going to contradict myself, because one of the reasons why it's so hard to gain traction, getting people to use Bitcoin or use gold and silver as money, is because it's, in some ways, it's called Gresham's law, I guess, is the idea that bad money drives out good. So if you have someone way over printing paper money, no one's going to spend their better money. If they have gold or if they have silver coins like we used to until the 1960s in this country, that the bad money drives out the good. And so people are going to use the paper money and keep the silver, because the silver is going to be worth more, and they're not going to spend a quarter that's worth 10 times its face value. They're not going to spend that to buy a piece of bubble gum and lose out on. I mean, you technically could put a quarter in a gumball machine, but that quarter, if it's made of silver, is worth way more than a quarter that's just stamped 25 cents. So that's how the bad money, the the easily printed money stays in circulation, and then all the better money will get taken out of circulation. And so that's why it's hard, even when you're promoting sound money, it's hard to really build an infrastructure of people using it day to day, because no one wants to spend something that's for sure going up in value compared to the currency that's being debased. The US dollar, they've printed 80% of them in the last 2 years, or whatever astronomical number is up to now. I'll stop losing my train of thought here. But so that's one of the reasons why I think it works. Like the Texas Beef Initiative, they're selling some beef for Bitcoin, which is awesome. But a lot of that, I think, is going to be people that made a lot of money in Bitcoin. The price has gone up since they started buying, and so they feel like, well, I don't need to like analyze someone else's thinking that I don't know. But I think a lot of people that are in Bitcoin are expecting the price to keep appreciating over time. And I'm not 100% certain that Bitcoin came about after the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis that was never fixed. So I kind of have the idea, and it's not original to me, but I tend to believe that a lot of the price rise in Bitcoin has to do with absorbing a lot of that money that's been printed throughout all the quantitative easing and bond buying and all the stuff that the US government and the Fed have been engaged in for the last 12, 13 years. And I don't think that Bitcoin has ever been, I know it's never been tested in a major market downturn. And so I would say that there's a small percentage of Bitcoin holders who are true believers, the maximalists, and they're not worried if Bitcoin goes to 10,000. They still believe in it as a viable replacement to the current financial system, or replacement to the fiat dollars. But I don't know how big that percentage is. So I think it remains to be seen if the S&P drops 50% and everything's crashing and going, if we see a repeat of 2008 and 9, but actually worse this time, I think that you're going to see a lot of Bitcoin selling, just because I think it's traded so much recently like this is just a real unscientific observation, but I've noticed it kind of tracking along with the NASDAQ futures. So like I've heard someone say on Twitter, it kind of trades like a tech stock in a bubble. And I'm not saying this to piss off all the Bitcoiners, because I'm with them and have the same objectives and long-term goals of exposing the fraud of fiat currency and central banking and the necessity of returning, at least individually, to a sound money, or start thinking with a lower time preference and saving and investing for the future and sound money, and using things that are like cash and you can say Bitcoin and gold and silver that maintain your personal privacy and autonomy as a free, independent American. And that's another thing that we saw Bitcoin kind of used a little bit, and with the Canadian truckers when they're freezing bank accounts. But someone that's a Bitcoin proponent I saw asked in an interview about the Canadian truckers, and he said, the guy said, well, the interviewer asked this guy, I'm not going to say who it is, I'm not picking on him, but because this guy being interviewed was promoting Bitcoin as a viable alternative to having your bank account shut down. And the interviewer asked him, well, how did that work in real time? I mean, because there's not that many people that are going to take Bitcoin for diesel or toothbrushes or what have you. And he's like, well, you basically have to have a community, and you have to like know the people you're dealing with, and you have to build, you know, basically it was like you have to build a community of people that are willing and able to transact outside of the system. And not that you couldn't have someone with a cold wallet in Canada that got sent Bitcoin and they could transfer it if they transfer that out anonymously somehow. But, you know, it'd be so easy for a government to shut down the on-ramps and the off-ramps to Bitcoin that it would be only a tiny minority of really tech-savvy kind of hacker types that would be able to use their money at all. And so then you're still left with having to build a community of like-minded people that understand the threats to liberty and understand sound money and a low time preference. So now if you develop that, then you don't need all that technology. You can use $100 bills, you can use cash, you can use silver, you can use gold, and I guess I'm anticipating all the arguments I would get from this. So once again, I'm still kind of in a learning mode here. I'm not discouraging Bitcoin, or I'm not like trying to poke holes in it for my own, you know, for my own benefit, to learn and see, and, you know, see where I'm wrong. So I've got, like I said, I could probably make 10 videos on this subject, and in the interest of getting home and unsaddling horses, I'm probably going to end this video now. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll share it around if you found it valuable. Whether or not we end up, the sound money of choice is gold, silver, cash, Bitcoin. It's not going to be cash. You know, that's not a long-term store of value when they print it like a toilet paper. But whatever the money it ends up in vogue and being commonly used, we're all on the same page, and we're all looking for the same thing, which is basically, I guess, building that community of people that understand, you know, what it means to be free and what it means to have a stable, autonomous civilization of patriotic Americans and people that love their country and love the truth. And if you have that, and that's what I hope to fall into or find through making these videos. I know it's a slow process, and I have to remind myself just to keep at it and not get discouraged. I'll find the people I need to help build this. But yeah, once you find that and build that network of like-minded people that's going to rebuild civilization and rebuild a freer society, once we get rid of all these tyrants that are plaguing everyone right now, the money will almost be a side note. You know, it'll just be like any other commodity where, you know, it has a use, and the use of money is different than, you know, beef, which you consume, but money is still, it's there to preserve wealth in a long-term way, and something that you can depend on for, well, I'm not going to go into a long philosophical speech on the qualities of sound money, but you get the point that the community of people, or the people that you find that you can actually transact with and do business with, that are outside of the system, you know, the Visa MasterCard system that can shut you down for having, as Justin Trudeau said, fringe opinions, like misogynist, racist truck drivers that just standing up for their freedoms as human beings made in the image and likeness of God. So I'll stop this rant now. Thanks for watching this far, and I'll be back with more later. Adios.